Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's virtual training session presented by Africa Fire Mission. My name is Mike, and I'm a project coordinator here with Africa Fire Mission, and I'm happy you all took the time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's training session. Today, we're joined by two of Africa Fire Mission's fire safety volunteers, Cyrus and Errol. Cyrus is going to be leading our class today, where we're going to be talking about some fire prevention programs. Before we get started with today's training, just a couple quick reminders. If you attend for at least 70% of today's training, which is usually about 40 or 45 minutes, you'll receive a certificate of attendance for today's training. Whatever your screen name is, here in Zoom will be the name that is on that certificate. So if you'd like to make adjustments to that, please do so now. Keep your eye on the chat as well. I'll show you a link to our Google Drive folder where you can get materials from today's class or watch today's video again, or any of the other training sessions that we've done so far this year. And if you get on there, answer a few questions, you will receive a certificate of attendance for that as well. Without further ado, we're going to begin today. I'm going to pass it over to Errol for today's words of encouragement.
Thank you very much, Chief Mike, and welcome you all to this amazing session. I want to have a few words of encouragement to all of us. So I have three things to mention. There are three habits that, three things that form a habit. One, make a decision to develop a habit to take to task completion. Number two, discipline yourself to practice the principles you're about to learn over until they become automatic. And number three, everything you do, back with determination until the habit is locked in and becomes a permanent part of you. So those are the three things. I repeat: decision, discipline, and determination. And then to sum it up, Napoleon Hill once said, do not wait. The time will never be just right. Stay where you stand. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you have at your command. And better tools will be found as you go along. I want to echo the words of Napoleon Hill, or rather repeat it again. Don't wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you have at your command. And better tools will be found as you go along. Just an encouragement to all of us in our departments, whatever equipments we have, whatever tools we have, let's use them very well. Let's use them exclusively, so that all of us can make our department a safer place. So thank you very much, Mike, Chief Mike, and back to you, Chief Mike.
Thank you so much, Errol. We appreciate you sharing those words of encouragement, and they're kind of timely for today too, right? Because we're talking about developing habits, and we're hoping that practicing fire prevention and community education will become a habit for you as well. So without further ado, I think I've covered all of our administrative things. I'm going to pass it over to Cyrus to begin today's presentation. Take it away, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for this time. Thank you for allowing me getting into the class. So before I move on, I want to welcome you to this class today. You are welcome. Feel free. If you have any question at the end of the lesson, you should have to ask your questions. So I take this opportunity to apologize about the notes I was not able to put into slides, but I will explain to you step by step. So give me your ears, give me your eyes if possible, so that we can go together and ending up together, right? So you are welcome. Our today's topic is all about fire prevention and inspection. It says conducting fire inspection to increase community awareness, conducting fire inspection to increase community awareness. So here on my notes, I have a guideline for the fire inspectors. So of course you will bear me, you are here so that we can go together. The first guideline says the inspector must know. The inspector must know what is the aim of the fire inspection to the community. What is the aim of the fire inspection to the community? 2, which type of dressing should inspector dress during the inspection? Before you go to community or any fire inspector go to community or a firefighter or a fire advocate to talk about a fire to community to check what is in the community in terms of fire prevention or in terms of fire, what is required in the community to prevent fires, or what kind of devices do our community have to deal with the fires in case of the eruption of fires. So you as an officer who is taking the job or the activities to the communities, which dressing code are you supposed to be in? Which dressing are you supposed to dress? In which way are you going to show out that you are a fire inspector? Like in our counties and maybe private companies, you need to wear the dressing that shows the fire inspector, a written fire inspector, or a fire marshals, firefighter, fire advocate. Yeah. Also, most of the companies wear the neck tag to identify the fire inspector who is going to deal with the fire inspection within the buildings or the business premises, you know. Where is the inspector targeting to carry out fire inspection? Where is the inspector targeting to carry out the fire inspection? Considering the types of companies, industries, and any other public catering in the area. So you as a fire inspector, you as a fire advocate, you as a firefighter, you want to take out the fire inspection within your area, within your town, within your village. You have to have, you need to have a plan. Where are you targeting to do the fire inspection? Is it the schools? Is it the business premises? Is it a market? Is it a village, buildings? You know, that kind of target and a plan. Considering the types of, types of buildings and materials used in the common areas, types of building and materials being used to build the types of buildings and materials used in the community, right? When you are planning to do the fire inspection, you want to carry out the inspection within the targeted area that you have been, you want to do the fire inspection. So you have to know which type of building is present there. You have to know also which types of materials. Maybe in our local areas, mostly in Kenya, you will find out rural areas has the rocket houses, whereby the materials is the grass and the soil. So you have to know which type of material, which type of the houses is there. You cannot go there telling the community you want now to do the fire inspection after seeing 1, 2, 3 that it is needed to have the fire devices. You want now to punish the community why you don't have the fire hose reels, why you don't have the fire extinguishers, and the house is not that much needs of a fire extinguisher or the fire hose reels, right? Sources of heat that is being used by the locals. What are the major sources of heat within the area? Is it a firewood? Is it a fire using the firewood? Is it a paraffin? You know, is it a gases? Which types of sources of heat? Before you do any inspection, you have to know, you have to consider that the sources of heat that the local community are using on the area where you're targeting to do the fire inspection. Any high risks fire hazards in targeted areas. As you carry on the fire inspection, what are you targeting? What have you seen? The high risk on fires, right? What is in the community that it can harm the community by producing fires anytime? Is there any available gases, dry grass, you know, fuel storage? So you have to have that, you need to have that plan in yourself before you do any inspection. Now let us go to our introduction. Effective fire inspections, plan, review, and public education by fire inspectors or firefighters or fire advocates can prevent fires, save lives. I can repeat that statement. Effective fire inspections, plan, review, and public education by fire inspectors or firefighters can prevent fires and saves lives. We always say it's better to prevent but to cure. You need to educate your people. You need to advise your people on how to keep the risks of fires away than being called to go and suppress the fire. You know, as we know that the fire are the major causes of death in emergency, in any kind of emergency. So you should have to teach our community. You should have to carry out conversation between the firefighters, fire advocates, fire inspectors, fire marshals, to teach our community that before we respond all kind of fires, please, this is the right way to plan ourselves. Have the fire extinguishers maybe, have the water near you. So in such a way, it will be possible for us as a fireman or a firefighters to minimize those kind of emergency, right? If fires are prevented, the duty of firefighter, if fires are prevented, the duty of the fire service is accomplished, right? Is that a fact? If the fires are prevented, the duty of the fire service is accomplished. Yeah, it is very true, because when we teach our community to minimize the causes of fires, to deal with the fires when the fires are still baby, we will not receive so many calls regarding the fire eruption within the area, within the town, because our community knows how to deal with the fire when the fire is still young. They have the devices, they have the fire extinguishers with them, they have the fire blankets, all those. When our community have those skills and knowledge, we will be responding less. Yeah, we will be responding less to our community, because we know there is those fires. Sometimes it can reignite the fire extinguishers, and maybe it depends on how the fire started. Fire inspection units may be a part of a fire department or an independent unit. fire inspection unit may be a part of a fire department or an independent unit. So the fire inspectors, it can be within the fire service, it can be within the private companies, it can be within the personal investigator, right? There is those guys who qualified for the fire inspection. Somebody can decide to carry on the inspection alone, so long as it has the legal procedures given out by the government. So the fire service also has the fire inspectors, specialists on how to do the fire inspection. You go to private companies, like in Kenya, we have the Chief OS, we have the Securex, and so many others. So those guys usually do the inspection, do the installations, you know. So in the fire inspection, there is a 3 E's. Yeah, there is a 3 E's, or there is this acronym known as 3 E's. The first E, it says engineering, fire engineering. Fire engineering are those guys who deal with building construction, building materials, fire flow calculation, you know. They will carry out the inspection before the building being constructed. They will tell the constructor, please, hey, this is the good materials to do with it. This is the good devices you need to install, hose rails, hoses, hydrants. So that all is a work of fire engineering. Another E, education. There is those guys like me, you and firefighters, we need to carry out the education to our community. For example, on fire prevention, we need to train our community. We need to train business people. We need to train a school on how to use the fire extinguishers, on how to call the fire brigade when there is an emergency. So us as a firefighters and fire marshals, fire advocates, all we go into the education, fire education. Here, we are all fire educators, right? Because I know after here, you will be doing the fire prevention maybe the starting of next week, or you may start tomorrow. So those, that procedure or those procedures are fall under the education. Next E and our last E on that acronym, enforcement or enforcing. Enforcement or enforcing. Enforcing is mostly is being done by the government regarding the fire policy. You might find out that government says you will not leave a building if the building doesn't have fire extinguishers or doesn't meet the fire precautions, right? Those are the policies enforcing. There is a guideline from the government saying that you need to have, maybe in apartments, you need to have how many types of fire extinguishers, how many fire marshals do we need to have inside there. So the policy that guides the user or the residents on dealing with fires. So that's our last E. Here is a question. What is fire inspection? Yeah, if you can ask yourself, what is fire inspection? I have a short definition here. It says, a fire inspection is a visual inspection of a building and its property. A fire inspection is a visual inspection of building and its property. So the work of inspector, or the work of why are we supposed to do the inspection, is one, determine if the building complies with the inspection is being carried away. Why? Because it determines if the building complies with the statutes and regulations of fire safety. It determines if the building complies with the statutes and regulations that is being put by the government, occupational health and safety, you know. Can it comply on proper way to deal with the fires? Yeah. It also reduces risk of fires and maintains protection. By doing inspection, it can also reduces a risk of fires and maintenance of properties. For example, your client have installed, or you have installed so many types of fire extinguishers to your client buildings or residents. So as the inspectors carry the activities there, they will say to your client, hey, this fire extinguisher is no longer in good condition. Please remove this and buy another one. Hey, this fire hose reel, it is not meant for this building. It is too small to deal with any kind of fire emergency within this building. You need to expand, right? Hey, this fire hose reel is faulty. It is no longer in service, you know, or this one is too old. You need to buy the new one in the market. Maybe it was those standards being made by our colonies, maybe 1970s and 1960s, 1950s, because we go to new things nowadays. The inspector can tell the client or the use of the fire extinguishers that this one is no longer in market. It is no longer in our markets, and it cannot work in our community. It is not required to be used in our community. For example, those fire extinguishers that has the cartilage inside. Nowadays, we don't encourage our community to buy it, because sometimes if the fire extinguisher mishandled, it can cause harm to the community, right? Because the cartridge itself, it can throw itself away from the fire extinguisher, and it can cause danger to the user, right? So in such recommendation by the inspector, now that's the time it reduces the fire risks within the community and the maintenance of the fire protections. Okay, who are supposed to conduct the inspection? Who are supposed to conduct the inspection? Where are you supposed to conduct the fire inspection? If you are the fire marshal, if you are the fire inspector, if you are the fire advocate, the fire service can allow you to do the fire inspection within your area or the business centers, schools. All right, let us see here what I have. Inspection are conducted at, where are you supposed to conduct the inspection? My note says you need to conduct inspection at one business premises, maybe in market, town. You need to do the inspection within the business premises. For example, building after building, right? So you need to do the fire inspection there. Apartment buildings, you need to also to carry out fire inspection within the apartments, from one building to another, checking out whether they comply the law on fire, right? Schools, hospitals, places of public assembly, maybe government buildings, for example, assembly county, county assembly, government building, for example, county government offices, national government buildings, right? Any other occupancies except 1 and 2 families dwellings. You will do all other except 1 and 2 family dwellings. You don't have authority to do the fire inspection within the 1 and 2 family dwellings. Inspection that you need to carry out is including testing, suppression, and fire alarm and determination. Testing, suppression, and fire alarm and detection systems. Testing, suppressions, and fire alarms and detection systems. For example, testing the hose reels, testing the hydrants, testing the, what else? You cannot test the fire extinguisher because once there is those fire extinguisher, once you brace out, it is done. So mostly you will test the fire hydrants, fire hose reels. Also, you will test the fire alarms if they are working. Smoke detectors, you will also test that. Yeah, you will tell your client or your community or the residents that, hey, this is how to test. I want to test this kind of devices, and this is how I will test it, whether it is still working or not. After testing, when you find out that there is faulty equipments, you will guide them on what to do on that, maybe by replacing the batteries, replacing what you see it is faulty there. Conducting occupant evacuation drills. So this is what we normally do, and this is what we encourage ourselves today to do mostly in our areas while we are doing the fire inspection, sorry. By training them on how to conduct a fire evacuation drill, you will do evacuation drill showing them in case of there's a fire. In case of fire, this is what you should do. This is how you will run out of the fire, right? This is how you will crawl out of the fire. This is how you will walk out of the smoke. So today, we as a fire advocates, we as a firefighters, this is our meta work. While we are doing the fire inspection, consider doing evacuation, conducting occupational evacuation drills. Do the real drills to your clients. Do the real drills to your people you are targeting to do the fire prevention. If it's a school, do the real one, right? But don't burn the fires inside the building, right? But you just demonstrate on how to get out of those kind of emergency, right? Providing guidelines on fire safe materials, right? Providing guidelines. You will teach our communities, we need to teach our communities on how to arrange the house, on how to arrange the building, on how to arrange where we normally walk in and out daily, right? We will know how to show them the way they're supposed to be, guide them on how to arrange the kitchen, guide them on how to arrange the fire devices, like for example, gases that we normally use in cooking. Guide them on how to store the machines, like a generator using the flammable liquids. Guide them. You need to guide them while you are doing the fire inspection on how to do a proper storage. General fire safety or process. General fire safety or process inspections are performed to check for. General fire safety or process inspection are performed to check for overcrowding, fire safety. Yeah? We need to check out on overcrowding, blocked exits during the business hours, other types of unsafe protection. That's our work as a fire inspectors, as a fire advocates. As we carry out the fire prevention to our communities, let us try to have that skills of maybe doing a small fire inspection. Have that skills on how to carry out the fire inspection. When you be given a chance to do a fire prevention in a certain building, in a certain area, try to check the crowd of people. How does these people live? How has these people arranged themselves? After which distance you will find there is one person living. After how long you will find out that there is a building. Check out also the kind of the material being used in all buildings. For example, somebody has built it or has constructed a building, a semi-permanent building on a permanent building. So maybe there is a two permanent building, and in between there, somebody has constructed semi-permanent, maybe by iron materials. And what is inside that building, the business that is being taken there, is a small hotel. Maybe it's a small restaurant. And these other buildings has so high businesses. For example, people have occupied those rooms and they have invested billions of money or millions of money. And this man here, who has built the iron sheet building, has only used about 30,000 or 40,000 to run out the business side there. Who is in risk on that side? The one living in the permanent or the one living in a semi-permanent? So the one who is living or the one who is carrying a business in a permanent, because it has, because the guys have used a lot of money to carry out the business, they are at a risk, because this one has less money, has a semi-permanent building, and maybe the activities that it is taking place there is mostly a fires. This guy can provide a fire that it can burn these other buildings, which is being used by constructing, which is being used under construction of high money. You know, I don't know whether I'm clear there. So overcrowding, we have to check out how has people conducted themselves in the business. If it is a school, you have to know the number of the students per class, the number of the students per dormitory, the number of students at the hostel. Maybe the hostel room allows only 4 students to live there, but maybe because of the reasons, the room has been given to have more than 5 students. Who is at the risk at that time? The students and maybe, yeah, the students, because in case of any emergency within that room, it will be difficult for them to get out. So that's only what the tips I'm giving you. When you can be given a chance to do the fire prevention, try to check that kind of personal inspection. Other types of unsafe practices, like I said earlier, somebody is running business within a semi-permanent building, in between a permanent building, that also leads to unsafe practices. Fire inspection and fire services. Fire inspectors may work in fire department, independent court enforcement agency, for example, Red Cross in Kenya, G4S, and any other private agencies, maybe that they has the fire inspectors. Businesses that performs fire inspection as a contract service. Yeah, there is those guys who can come together, open a small company, or register themselves to do a fire inspection, to deal with the fire inspection. Local government determines where and who performs inspection. For example, when you go to other countries, maybe the start policy says, if you don't meet this qualification, you are not allowed to do the fire inspection, right? Other country says, if you are not working in a military department, you are not supposed to carry out the fire inspections. So such kind of a policy. If fire inspector works within fire service or fire department, inspector may also assume other positions. If the fire inspector works within the fire service, he or she can assume that other officers like fire marshals, fire investigators, fire and life safety education specialists, fire protection engineers. So that's the advantage if the fire inspector is working within the fire department. They can also assume that these other guys, these other officers have the skills on how to do the inspection, because they know you cannot be a firefighter, you cannot be in a fire service without having a complete skills. So that's the advantage of the fire inspector working in the fire service, or a fire inspector has been given authority to carry out and in the fire authority, right? Roles and responsibilities of fire inspector. Roles and responsibility for fire inspector. 1, conduct the basic fire inspection and appliances codes and standards. 1. Conduct basic fire inspection and applies codes and standards. Number 2, inspect structure and write the reports. Number 3, identify need for permit and how to obtain it. Identify need for permit and how to obtain it. Yeah, they will guide the community, they will guide the residents, they will guide the businessmen to identify need of permit of having a fire certificate, and how they will show them on how to obtain it from the government or the county government, right? Investigate common complaints. They will be able also to do investigation on maybe there is somebody complaining that I'm running a boutique here and my friend here is running a small hotel, but always they will leave this friend of mine who is running an hotel, they always leave the electricity open unintended. They will always leave the chicos full of charcoals outside the my door. They always risk my business, right? So that's such complaint. The person to do the investigation or the inspector. Participate in legal proceedings. They also participate in legal proceedings. They will attend the meetings on the latest updates about the fire, what the government says about the fire, right? For example, I saw a certain county government saying that you will not run a business within our town if you doesn't have one kind of fire extinguisher within your room, within your business room. So that's the kind of legal proceedings on how the county is guiding their people on how to deal with the fires. Identify classification of single-use occupancy. Identify classification of single-use occupancy. Determine fire growth potential. They will also determine fire growth potential. Inspect emergency access for fire department. For example, the roads in maybe the slums or within the town or within the business premises, they will come also and inspect if the road is enough for the fire engine, if the road is enough for fire rescuers. Those all are the work of the fire inspectors. Classify occupancy type of buildings. Yeah, they will also classify. This is the required building needed to be here. This is not the one supposed to be within here. For example, a big town, I think they will not allow a semi-permanent building to be in between the other permanent building. There is that classification of the buildings within the town. So those all are the work of fire inspectors. All right. Goals and standards of fire inspection. Goals and standards for fire inspection. Code. What does the word code mean? Code, rule or law for enforcement of fire protection, life safety, building construction. or a property maintenance issue. Yeah, the restart code says maybe. The restart law under the code says you will not build this kind of the fire, this kind of building within here. You will not install this kind of fire extinguisher, but you need to have this one, right? Standards. Document giving special standards. Document giving specification defining minimum levels of performance protection or construction, right? So you as a fire advocate, firefighter, fire investigator, after having those all guidelines, you need also to do more on our communities. You need also to bring the community together. You need also to show a light of life to the community about the fire prevention and the fire inspection. As you carry out the fire inspection, you have to also tell the community, educate people one by one that, hey, please come here. We want to do this kind of fire inspection because it is very important for us to know the risks of the devices that we are using. Though we have them within our buildings, we have the fire extinguishers, you have to tell them before we carry out the fire inspection. We need to know the importance of knowing all the condition of fire devices that is being used to suppress the fire within our area. We need to know the risks that it can harm ourselves anytime in terms of fire. You need also to guide them that it is very important to have the fire inspectors, maybe twice a year, according to what the government policy says. If it is twice a year, it is like that. If it is once a year, it's like that, right? So, and this is the best way we will be able to interact and open the light to our community. Of course, I said, after doing the inspections, after you carry out the inspections, it will allow your time to do the fire prevention. After doing the reports, after identifying one, something that is wrong, two, something that is right, it is now your time to do the fire prevention. Because you can't do the fire inspection, you can't inspect a certain devices without educating the user. You need to do the education first so that you do the inspection. That's how I normally say myself. You need to do the education first before you do the inspection, right? So after you have taken out, after you have done after you have completed the inspection, now it is now your time to identify what you have seen within, or you need to give out a report on what you have seen during your inspection. Number one, identification of flammable materials. What have you identified within the area that it can cause fires? Flammable materials. For example, maybe it can be in a state condition. Flammable materials, maybe it can be in a solid, it can be in a liquid, it can be in gaseous. What have you seen within the area? What have you inspected? What are you going to tell them? So what you should need to teach the community after doing the inspection, proper way of storing the materials, proper way of doing the installation and using the equipment. Simple as that. Elimination of fires. Yes, you have seen maybe there is this kind of material, it can bring the fires. What are you supposed to teach the community? In case of the fire, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to suppress the fire? You need to teach them on a proper way of suppressing all types of fires by using the available fire extinguishers. Yeah, you need also to let them know the spread of fires, how the fires can be spread from one place to another. Yeah, you can talk about convection, where the fire movement, convection, movement of heat through air. You see, you can talk with them or you can tell them. Maybe the fire can spread from one place to another by movement of the wind, radiation, transfer of heat from one surface to another, maybe from one room to another, right? Firefighting equipment. You have to tell them, you need to train them. You need to open their minds that they are supposed to install the fire extinguishers, fire hoses, fire hydrants, fire blankets, right? Fire detections. They need to have the fire alarms, smoke detectors, flame detectors, right? So what you should teach them also, sources of ignition. Sources of ignition within the area. What is common there that is being used, that it can be brought out the fire anytime when mishandled. For example, heated surface, clothes, papers, faulty machines, electricity findings. Those all you need to teach them. This is the kind of the ignitions. Maybe installing the electricity at the gases storage. Maybe using the heaters within the office that is full of papers. There's those guys who have always disarranged the house or the store. There's a clothes there, there is a fuel, flammable materials like petrol generators. So you should teach them on how to come out and clear the area. For example, electricity, let the sockets being clear, let the sockets being maintained, let the wires being insulated, right? So again, you should teach them on how to fight the fires, basic firefighting. Yeah, at which time they are supposed to fight the fires, at which time that they don't need to fight the fires. One, location of the fires. Number two, inform others in terms of maybe alarming, shouting, restriction of the fires, maybe closing the doors. Yeah. extinguishing fires by using the correct fire extinguishers. Evacuation procedures also, we should talk about that. On hearing the alarms, on how to leave the building through the nearest safe exits. Do not re-enter the buildings once somebody are out of the fire. Familiarizing with all emergency exits, arrows during the working hours, in and out daily. You should also teach them. Proceedings to fire assembly point. In case of any fire, you have to teach them that they should run, not they should walk. They should not run. They should walk towards the fire assembly point. Yes, safe practices on that. Safe practices on that. Smoke only in authorized areas. Yeah, if it is an industry, if it is a school, if it is any other government gathering, they have to see and check out what is the policy within here. What are the rules? Other says, use the proper ashtrays, ensure matches and cigarettes, ends probably stubbed out. Proper warning notice to be placed. Do not smoke in bed. Yeah, you should talk about that. Laundry and wet clothing within our homes and maybe offices. So you should teach them. Do not place clothes over heaters, radiators, and any other machines. Clothes should be placed in a designed area. Electrical and other fittings, circuits should not be overloaded. Dry clothes on electrical heaters are prohibited. Makeshift plugs, sockets, and fuses should not be used. Makeshift plugs, sockets, and fuses should not be used. Yeah, machinery spacing on how to place the machines as I wind up. Machinery spaces. Always keep the Always keep the area clean. Prevent oil leakages. Remove combustible materials. Use containers for cotton waste, cleaning racks, oil racks. All electrical wiring should be well maintained. Hot work. Maybe hot work in a work. Somebody who is doing welding, operating the machines. So it says obtain necessary hot work permit before starting the work. Ensure gas test is carried out in a hazardous location. Those who are doing the welding, before you install your machines, before you start your work, you need to have a permit first. Two, by testing your gases that you are using for welding, you need to test it out of the arm area. Ensure no combustible material nearby, right? When you are doing welding. Ensure that no combustible materials. Of my today trainings. So I thank you for the patience. I also apologize. Maybe there's a place where I was not clear. I apologize for that. But if we were together, I thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Mr. Mike, can take over.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Cyrus. We appreciate that. That was a great lesson that you did today, covering fire inspections. Before we wrap up the formal portion of today's training, I would direct you to take a look in the in the chat. I just dropped a link to Africa Fire Mission's webpage. If you go to the resources tab under the fire safety curriculum, you'll find a form on there that you can use that will help you if you're conducting an inspection. It's just sort of a simple way. It provides some reminders for you when you're going out into the community to do an inspection. You can follow along with that form. So just another resource there that we have available. I'd like to thank everyone for today, sticking with us for today's training. I encourage everyone to hang around as we wrap up the formal portion of this training. We'll be moving into our tea time. We'll spend the next hour hanging out, giving you the opportunity to ask some questions, providing some answers and some conversation. So thank you to Cyrus, thank you to Errol, thank you to all of you all for being here today, and we'll see you again next week.